Paul Foster-Bill.
Whakalofalahi atu, Mr Speaker. Warm Pacific greetings to you in this Niuean Language Week. Sir, in speaking to the Education Charter Schools Curriculum Amendment Bill in this first reading debate introduced by the member Phil Goff, I'm going to, unfortunately for Mr Goff, be opposing this measure. I appreciate he probably brings it with very good intentions to this House, but it doesn't do what it says on the label, introducing a broad and balanced curriculum into the New Zealand educational system. We are proud in this country to have one of the most permissive curriculum systems in the world. And I should pay credit to previous Ministers of Education from both sides of the House who have done a very fine job in ensuring that the New Zealand national curriculum is of a good standard and provides appropriate settings for the training and courses that are offered in New Zealand schools. But it is appropriate that these decisions are made at a community level. And I think, sir, having people in this House deciding what is appropriate and what is not appropriate to be taught in New Zealand schools, be they partnership schools, be they state schools, be they other schools with special character, would not produce a particularly desirable outcome. Sir, I had the privilege of attending the Conservative Party conference in the United Kingdom in Manchester last week. And I was interested to hear the British Prime Minister David Cameron announce as one of his set-piece policies during his keynote speech at that conference the addition of a further 500 free schools, what we would call partnership schools or charter schools here in New Zealand. The United Kingdom public returned Mr Cameron's party with an unprecedented majority at the election they had in May, campaigning on the policies of having better choice in education, of improving quality. And when a country like the United Kingdom is leading the way with this, it is appropriate that New Zealand does look to those international models of good practice, and we not only seek to emulate what others are doing, we are innovating in our own ways here, particularly around offering the choices to Māori students and Pacifica and other students from ethnic minorities in this country that are appropriate to their needs. So for that reason, sir, I think it is a good thing that there are genuine choices in New Zealand and that we are freeing some schools from the administrative rigmarole that is imposed upon them by the Ministry of Education. So it's one particular aspect of this bill. Clause 5 applies to Section 60A of the base legislation, which would impose the administrative guidelines promulgated by the Ministry on partnership schools. And I think it's actually a good thing that we have schools now that are free from opening hours set centrally. It might be appropriate in a Marxist country, if we go back to 1980s Romania, to have people in this House deciding what hours the school should open their doors. But actually, there may well be children that would benefit, learners who would benefit from going to school for an early morning class and then having trades training in the afternoon. There might be others who would be better off taking computer graphics classes at the local Polytech in the mornings and then having the schooling component offered in an afternoon. So by introducing that level of flexibility, as we have done through partnership schools, this would actually be, sir, a significant step backwards by tying schools whose very success relies on some of those freedoms that they've been given, by restricting them and tying them back to those old-fashioned, old-style, Soviet-era, central command and control education diktats coming out of Wellington. So, there's one more point I'd like to make, sir. I should have taken a point of order at the time. There was a scurrilous word used by the member Tracy Martin. I usually like Mrs. Martin, and she's a very good member. She's a well-intentioned member. But there are certain words that are unparliamentary, and I was wondering if you picked that up, sir. A word beginning with B. I'm not going to repeat it.
No, I didn't. But I also didn't interrupt the member when.
No, and you're a very generous speaker for that reason, sir. But I thought that was a ridiculous allegation from a party where a member once accepted the other B word, the baubles of office, in exchange for policy concessions. So I think that member should really have a look at her own party before slinging words like that across the House.